The number of workers supporting one retiree has diminished significantly, and this plan really hasn't changed in decades.
Last night, Luke Moretti dug deeper into what's contributing to the financial challenges in the Social Security system. The Social Security Administration projects that its trust funds will be depleted by the year 2034.
And at that point, only about 80% of benefits could be paid out if no action is taken before then. Here's News 4's Luke Moretti with part 2 of his special report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are facing some tough decisions, and they know it. What to do about Social Security's long-term financial challenges.
Everyone agrees. We are on the path of insolvency for Social Security.
Representative Tom Reed of Corning, whose district includes the southern tier, believes the sooner Congress acts, the better for everyone.
To me, the point is, it is in a path that has to be taken care of in order to protect it for generations that are going to rely upon it and need it.
People like Samantha Frank, a University at Buffalo business student.
It's scary to think that it may not exist.
From her vantage point, the future of Social Security looks a bit murky. She's already started to sock away money.
We should have it, because we're putting money into it now, but worst comes to worst, it's not there. At least I have this money saved that I can resort to.
There's not much of an appetite when it comes to reducing benefits. A survey by the Pew Research Center finds that about 7 in 10 registered voters say benefits should not be reduced in any way, while about a quarter believe some reductions for future retirees need to be considered.
When I think about it,
Alex Goldberg, a UB senior majoring in business administration, wonders how this will play out over the long term.
if I'm going to keep putting in, what am I putting in for if I'm getting very little or nothing out of it?
So, what's the best way to fix Social Security? The options?
People would be, a lot of people would be upset.
Let's just say they're gonna be painful.
You either put more money in or you cut benefits.
Action is needed soon to address the program's financial challenges.
Charlie Jezik is with the U.S. Government Accountability Office, the investigative arm of Congress. He says this has been studied exhaustively over the last decade.
It is a very contentious program, and people have very strong views on what should be done. The sooner you take action, it will give people, you can phase in the changes. It allows people to take other actions, save more, or do other things depending on what you've done.
Even Social Security's Board of Trustees stated in a recent report that lawmakers should address the financial challenges as soon as possible. Taking action sooner, the board concluded, will provide more time to phase in changes.
There is no easy solution.
Economist Isaac Ehrlich chairs the economics department at the University at Buffalo.
It's very difficult to give a specific answer to it, but I would have to say some combination of increased taxes and reduced benefits would have to be done. And the increased taxes could be done by delaying the age at which you can receive benefits.
Representative Tom Reed, who sits on the powerful House Ways and Means Committee, says he's committed to getting something done.
Once you break through the politics of this issue and you're not afraid to take it on like we are, you can get to solutions. It's the political will. We need more leadership. We need commitment.
Cheektowaga residents Fred and Mary Bloom receive Social Security benefits. They understand that tough choices have to be made.
Maybe upping the retirement age for people, maybe taking more taxes out.
And making sure that it isn't borrowed from Peter to pay Paul.
Right, right.
That it is there, that's the idea behind it, and that's what it was before.
The old age and survivors insurance has already reached the point where outlays exceed contributions. We're in a way already in the red.
Social Security's trust funds are still growing. The combined trust fund asset reserves total $2.8 trillion. Some wonder how much has been spent on other programs and whether the government is in a position to pay it back. I posed these questions to Richard Schroeder, Chief Investment Officer with Level Financial Advisors in Amherst.
It's been collecting extra money and investing it in U.S. government securities. Investors all over the world buy U.S. government securities. They don't consider it theft. They're buying something that's backed by the government, and they make interest on it. Same with Social Security. You can't go in and redeem all the stock that's outstanding from General Electric. They don't have the money right now, but they have the ability to pay it off over time, just like the government does with its Social Security Trust Fund.
So some people are thinking, okay, rather than come to us for the pain, right? Raise the retirement age, make us pay more in taxes. Yes. Why don't you just pay us back the money that you took out of the trust fund?
It would not be as good as collecting Social Security. They're already spending the trust fund to pay current benefits. If we did not have the trust fund right now, a Social Security retiree would be getting about 12% less in benefits. They are actually redeeming the securities as time goes on to pay us the benefits. They collected almost $100 billion of interest from the U.S. government last year back into the trust fund. So that's $100 billion we don't have to pay in taxes to pay for retirees' benefits. The Chinese have poured hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars into the same U.S. government debt that Social Security's invested in because they think it's a safer place to have their money than in Chinese real estate or their own stock market or the yuan, and it's same all around the world.
Well, Schroeder says the extra money had to be put somewhere and that U.S. government securities was the only market big enough and safe enough to handle it. Now, the next thing is sort of deciding what age to begin claiming retirement benefits. That could be the biggest financial decision that we make, and we're going to take a look at some of the factors that go into that tomorrow at 6.
Longer you put it off, the more you receive.
That's what they say, absolutely. But not everybody can do that because of different circumstances.
Right.
Highly individualized.
Interesting to see these young people that you talk to, Luke, who don't expect anything to be there for them by the time they retire.
Yeah, they're already in that mindset that I need to start saving because who knows?
And that's good for everybody,
that
too.
Is a good thing.
Not a bad thing.
All right.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow with more.